And now it's time for Focus. Today's report takes us to Saint-Martory, a village of just 900 inhabitants in the southwest of France. Almost half of them voted for far-right anti-immigration candidate Marine Le Pen in the second round of this year's presidential election. Many of them were upset by the arrival of 50 asylum seekers from countries like Sudan and Pakistan. Now, a photographer is bringing refugees and local residents together to promote greater social harmony. Alex Le Bourdon, Alaïdine Salal and Alexander Alcott bring you this report.
Taking a picture of his father, Gerald will struggle to match the quality of the massive professional image just beside him. The longtime inhabitant of this small French village has his portrait hanging in the barn-turned-gallery. He's surrounded by the faces of those he's grown up with and knows well. But there are also some newcomers, Mahmoud, Mohammed and Adnan, migrants who arrived in the community just over a year ago. Marcel is taking part despite being a National Front voter.
At first, I was against immigration, period, for a variety of reasons that I and others here also share. But now I think these refugees have nothing to do with the kind of immigration I'm opposed to. They had no other choice and shouldn't be blamed.
It has taken someone with great energy and passion to convince people like Marcel to take part. Patrick Willocq is the person who put everything in place. Inhabitants and migrants playing their own parts.
Overnight in our small village of 900 inhabitants, 50 migrants arrived. That's 6% of the population. It's as if 150,000 migrants had arrived in downtown Paris overnight. People were very scared. The question that kept on arising was, are we going to become another Calais? And I'm not afraid to say that if it had not been imposed on us, if we had been able to vote among the 15 local councillors, 14 of us would have voted against it. We would have said, elsewhere it's okay, but not in my backyard.
Do you like picture exposition?
Oui, cette exposition, c'est très bon. C'est très beau, tout le monde ici très gentil.
Friendships have been formed despite the language barrier. Adnan has quickly adapted to rural life, far from his native Pakistan, where his hometown has a population of 300,000.
Before I arrived, I was a bit sad, how my life was going here to see, because you spend like your life in a place in the city where you see metro and too much noise and too much thing, and suddenly you change your place, so it's a bit like something like very weird, yeah.
Adnan fled from the Pakistani Taliban, based in the Swat Valley, who he says saw his dwarfism and wanted to enslave him. To make it to Saint-Martory, he crossed Iran, Turkey, Greece, then Italy. Almost 2 months of walking and a perilous sea crossing.
Sometimes people ask, why you are here? I told them, you know, who want to live as country? Who want to live as mother? Who want to live as father? Everybody loves his country, and I love my mother, I love my father, I love my family, but this is the situation. The situation who make me here.
But Bibiche remains unsympathetic.
C'est moi.
The boss of this century-old cafe is still not welcoming the arrival of the migrants.
Le spécimen de Saint-Martory.
She's one of the 43% of the village's electorate who voted for Marine Le Pen in the second round of the presidential election.
S'ils pouvaient retourner chez eux, ça serait bien.
It'd be good if they could go back home, but since there's war, it's not possible. So what are they going to do here? They've already been here for a year and a half. They don't have work. They still don't have their papers. And what are they going to do when they do get their papers? Go to the job centre. It's already full.
The photo project with the migrants has not changed her perspective. Unlike Gerald, this young man who's always voted for the far right has done a full 180. After the photo project, he started regularly going to the Saint-Martory reception centre. Today he's teaching Adnan how to play the guitar.
You have to be a little bit consistent. If you make a project like this one and then vote for the exact opposite values, you're lying to yourself. If people want to vote for Marine Le Pen, it's fine, very well. But when they slip their ballot, they should think about the France they really want. Because if you want to reject others, okay, why not? But in 10 or 20 years, who knows? It might be us French people enduring poverty, war, and who need someone's help.
A friendship born of forced cohabitation, in Saint-Martory, this photo project helped to ease tensions.
Là, on est au Mexique, là. Ouais.
And our guest on this topic is Guillaume Capel, founder of SINGA, the Association for the Social and Professional Integration of Refugees. Thank you so much for joining us on France 24. What is the core reason for this suspicion on the part of the villagers? Is it race? Is it religion? Is it language? What are they really afraid of?
It's a global vision. When you go on Google and you type refugees, you have a certain type of images. You'll see refugees as a group, a large group of people who is on the move and who is in distress and sometimes who look aggressive. When you have this image in your mind, obviously the question is going to be, should I help these people who look in distress, or should I stop and close the door so that they don't come with their problems? And that's what we actually see in this village. That's really the two questions. People are fighting, and there is a divided society. And I think we need to change, to shift from this, and this is exactly what the photographer has done here. He said it's not about a fight between whether refugees are welcome or not. It's we live in this place and we're going to do something simple together. And we're going to be in a dynamic of a project where the image of refugees is not going to be this big group of people moving. It's going to be French people and refugees together in the same project.
But even the word, I mean, refugees, these are actually people, right? That we're talking about. We often forget that for them, adapting is just as hard as for the places that they're adapting to, the people, their culture. What is the hardest thing for them when they arrive in a small village like Saint-Martory?
Well, I think we can't generalize. We see that in this topic we have so many different people who probably have different ways to adapt. There are people with a lot of ambition, people who've been through hell, and people who've been through things that were less terrible. So it really depends on each and every individual. So we have to adapt to that individual. And I think one of the most difficult things is creating social capital when you just arrive. And
so what is social capital?
Social capital is going to be just be connected with someone, someone who might actually have the same interest, but who won't be professional or volunteer helping you, but someone who with someone else, and where you can,
like a friend.
You could be, yeah, exactly, you could be yourself with that person. It doesn't even need to be a friend, it needs to be just people you can interact with. And to create this situation is sometimes pretty difficult, and we don't do it very well in France. We know that Amnesty International has done a study last year. We know that 9% of French people are happy to welcome someone at their place. That's 6 million people who are ready to interact and do things, but we don't have the tools yet to actually get in touch with them and reach out.
Are there any techniques that have been proven to help integration, both for communities that are welcoming these refugees and for the refugees themselves?
Well, I think what they are doing right here is one of the best techniques, is starting small, doing projects together, and not for refugees, but doing this project together. And this is exactly what we do at SINGA. We do it already in 4 cities, and the idea is to actually scale and to to tell to people who want to do the same in their small village, but also in other big cities, what are the tools, what are the methods to make that happen. But usually it's the simplest thing. You just have to, talk to each other.
Right. One last question. This report focused on a very small village, 900 people. What are the differences between this happening in a small village like that and a big city?
Well, I think the biggest difference is that obviously if it's 6% in the village, you're going to notice the arrival of new people. You're going to see the tension on different jobs more heavily than in a big city, because you know the number of jobs that you have in your city. But what is going to be amazing is that that also in a small city like that, you're going to see the advantage to have newcomers. They're going to be maybe the people who are going to make the school still happening. They might actually be the people who are going to start a cricket club, like it happened in Saint-Omer in Nord-Pas-de-Calais. So they're also, what they're going to bring is going to be more obvious to the small village.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Guillaume Capel, founder of SINGA, an association for the social and professional integration of refugees. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Do stay with us on France 24.